Chapter 8 The story Kathmandu is written by Vikram Seth. He's a writer who really loves to travel. In one of his books, called Heaven Lake, he wrote about a super long journey he took. He traveled all the way from China to India, and on his way, he passed through two countries, Tibet and Nepal. The story starts with the writer getting a really cheap room right in the middle of Kathmandu. He was probably super tired from his journey because he slept for many hours. The very next morning, the writer didn't go exploring alone. He went with Mr. Shah's son and Mr. Shah's nephew. Together, they visited two very important temples in Kathmandu. These temples are considered very sacred, which means very holy, to two different groups of people, Hindus and Buddhists. One of the temples they visited is called Pashupatinath. When they got there, they saw a sign outside. This sign clearly said, "Entrance for the Hindus only." So, only people who are Hindu are allowed to go inside this particular temple. Inside and around Pashupatinath, the atmosphere was described as febrile confusion. Imagine a place where everyone is doing something quickly, and it feels like complete chaos. That's febrile confusion. Meaning of febrile confusion is hurried activity and complete chaos. Lots of different kinds of people and even animals were moving around everywhere. There were priests, who are religious leaders, hawkers, who are people selling things loudly in the streets. Meaning of hawkers is people who sell things in the street, devotees, who are people showing their love and worship for God, tourists, who are visitors, and even animals like cows, monkeys, pigeons, and dogs, all roaming through the temple grounds. The writer and his companions offered some flowers to the deities. There were so many worshippers trying to get the attention of the priest that some people were getting pushed and elbowed aside by others who were trying to get to the front. It sounds like a very crowded place. Suddenly, a princess from the Nepalese royal family appeared. When she showed up, everyone immediately bowed down and made way for her, showing her respect. Near the main gate of the temple, a group of Westerners were struggling to get permission to enter. They were dressed in saffron clothes. Saffron is a yellowish-orange color often worn by holy people in India. But the policeman guarding the gate was not convinced that they were Hindus. And remember, only Hindus were allowed to enter the temple. While all this was happening, a fight broke out between two monkeys. One monkey chased the other. The monkey being chased then jumped onto a Shivalinga. A Shivalinga is a very sacred symbol for Hindus, representing Lord Shiva. Meaning of Shivalinga is a symbol of Lord Shiva. After jumping on it, the monkey ran screaming around the temples and then went down to the river. This river is the holy Bagmati river, and it flows right below the temple. On the banks of this river, a dead body was being cremated. To cremate means to burn a dead body. Meaning of cremated is burned a dead body. At the same time, washerwomen were busy doing their laundry, and children were bathing in the river. From a balcony nearby, someone dropped a basket filled with flowers and leaves into the river. These were old offerings that had wilted, meaning they had become dry and faded. There's also a small shrine on the river bank. A shrine is a special place of worship. Meaning of shrine is a place of worship. This particular shrine is only half protrudes, which means it's only half sticking out from the stone platform. There's a belief about this shrine. People think that when this shrine finally emerges fully, meaning it completely comes out, the goddess inside it will escape. And when that happens, the evil period of the Kali Yuga will end on earth. Kali Yuga is believed to be a bad time or era. Meaning of Kali Yuga is an evil period. So, it's a big belief connected to the end of a bad time. After visiting Pashupatinath, they went to the Boudhanath Stupa. This is a Buddhist shrine in Kathmandu. A stupa is a dome-shaped building that holds Buddhist sacred things. Meaning of stupa is a dome-shaped building housing Buddhist relics. The writer notes a big contrast between the two temples. At Boudhanath, there's a strong feeling of stillness and quietness. The Boudhanath Stupa has a huge white dome, and a road circles around it. Small shops are built on the outer edge of this road. Many of these shops are owned by Tibetan immigrants. Immigrants are people who have come from another country to live here permanently. Meaning of immigrants is people who have come to live permanently in a foreign country. In these shops, you can buy things like felt bags, Tibetan prints, which are special pictures, and silver jewelry. There are no big crowds here, making it a very peaceful place. It's a heaven. Meaning of heaven is a safe place of quietness in the middle of the busy streets around it. The writer then describes Kathmandu city itself. He says it's vivid, which means very lively and colorful. It's also mercenary, which means people are focused on making money. And of course, it's very religious. Along its narrowest and busiest streets, you can see small shrines with statues of gods decorated with flowers. The streets are full of different people and sounds. There are fruit sellers, flute sellers, and people selling postcards. You can also find shops selling Western cosmetics, like makeup, film rolls for cameras, and chocolate. Other shops sell copper utensils, cooking tools, and old Nepalese antiques. From radios, you can hear film songs blare out, meaning they play very loudly. Car horns are sounding, bicycle bells are ringing, and even stray cows moo questioningly at motorcycles. Vendors, sellers, shout out what they are selling. The writer decides to indulge myself mindlessly. This means he just buys things without thinking too much about it. He buys a bar of marzipan, which is a sweet treat made from grated almonds. Meaning of marzipan is a sweet made with grated almond. He also buys a corn on the cob that's roasted on a charcoal brazier on the pavement. A brazier is like an open stove for cooking. Meaning of brazier is an open stove. The corn is rubbed with salt, chili powder, and lemon. He also gets a couple of love story comics and even a Reader's Digest magazine. To wash all this down, he drinks Coca-Cola and a nauseating orange drink. Nauseating means it makes you feel sick. Meaning of nauseating is sickening. Even after that, he feels much the better for it, meaning he feels good. After enjoying the city, the writer starts thinking about how he should travel back home. He considers a long journey. If he were driven by enthusiasm for travel per se, meaning if he loved travel just for the sake of traveling itself, he would go by bus and train to Patna. Meaning of per se is by itself. Then, he would sail up the Ganges river, passing by Banaras, to Allahabad. After that, he would go up the Yamuna river, passing by Agra, all the way to Delhi. However, he is too exhausted and homesick. Exhausted means very tired, and homesick means he misses his home. It's the last day of August, so he tells himself to go home and move directly towards home. So, he decides against the long journey. He goes into a Nepal Airlines office and buys a ticket for a flight the very next day. The writer then focuses on a flute seller standing in a corner of the square near his hotel. The seller has a long pole in his hand. At the top of this pole, there's an attachment from which 50 or 60 bansuris protrude in all directions. Bansuris are a type of Indian flute. Meaning of bansuris are Indian flutes. Protrude means they stick out. The way they stick out reminds the writer of the quills of a porcupine, which are the sharp spines of the animal. These flutes are made of bamboo. There are different kinds of flutes, like cross flutes and recorders. From time to time, the seller places the pole on the ground, picks one flute, and plays it for a few minutes. The sound of his flute rises clearly above the noise of the traffic and the hawkers' cries. So, the music is loud enough to be heard over all the city noise. The flute seller plays slowly, meditatively, without excessive display. Meditatively means thoughtfully and calmly. Meaning of meditatively is thoughtfully. He doesn't play to show off, and he doesn't shout out his wares, the things he's selling. Occasionally, he makes a sale, but he does it in a curiously off-handed way. Off-handed means casual, as if he's not showing much interest in the sale. Meaning of off-handed is casual and not showing much interest in something. It's almost as if selling the flutes is just a small part of his main activity, which is playing music. Sometimes, he even stops playing to talk to the fruit seller nearby. The writer imagines that this has been the way the flute seller has lived his life for many years. The writer finds it very difficult to tear myself away from the square. This means he finds it hard to leave that place. He explains that flute music always has this effect on him. He calls flute music at once the most universal and most particular of sounds. Universal means it's found everywhere in the world, and particular means each flute has its own unique qualities. He gives examples of different flutes from various cultures. There's the reed ne, the recorder, the Japanese shakuhachi, the deep bansuri used in Hindustani classical music, and the clear or breathy floats from South America, as well as high-pitched Chinese flutes. Each one has its own specific fingering, which means the unique way you place your fingers to play different notes. Meaning of fingering is way of placing the fingers to play different notes. And each has its own compass, which here means its range of notes. Meaning of compass is here, range. Each flute weaves its own associations, meaning it brings its own feelings and memories. Despite their differences, the writer feels that to hear any flute is to be drawn into the commonality of all mankind. This means hearing flute music connects him to everyone in the world, to what all humans share. He says it makes him moved by music closest in its phrases and sentences to the human voice. The way flute music is played, with its ups and downs and pauses, feels very similar to how a human voice speaks. He also points out that the flute's motive force, or what makes it play, is living breath. Just like a person needs to pause and breathe while speaking, a flute also needs to pause and breathe before it can go on. This creates a deep connection between the flute and human life itself. Finally, the writer expresses his surprise that he can be so affected by a few familiar phrases on the bansuri. He means he's surprised by how much emotion these simple flute tunes bring out in him. This is because on other times when he came back home after being away for a long time, he hardly noticed such details and certainly have not invested them with the significance I now do. This means he didn't usually pay attention to such small things or give them so much importance, but this time, the flute music really touched him.